will have the first pick on the left side of your screen, and they have the first ban as well, and they say no Sylvanas. They don't want any green here.
It always does so much work in these team fights. We've seen it time and time again. Doesn't matter if it's the PC or if it's the console. It has too much control, too much sustain, a lot of initiation if you're comfortable in finding those pulls.
Ao Kuang will be banned today, a character that we haven't seen too much of here of late, in all honesty. And why is that, Anatoly? A lot of people are pointing to the early invade situation.
Yes, more importantly, that's the reason why. Level 1 Ao Kuang is not that strong compared to, let's say, a Thor, Thanatos, Erlang Shen, Nike. Those warrior-style junglers are more important to control your speed and your blue buff. However, if you're comfortable enough to get out of that early laning phase, then Ao Kuang is so strong. So it seems that PKO did their homework. They didn't want Backstab to get that late game god.
Well, they're going to go the complete opposite direction. Jingwei is going to be picked up before PKO, and Backstab version 2, they say, okay, you banned our late game jungler, we're going to go hyper early game and select the Thanatos next to the Chronos. So you've got very early game and very late game with those two selections.
And more importantly, they ban away the Freya before picking the Chronos, leaving only Soul for the Magical Hunter, but instead it was elected to pick the Jingwei, a very comfortable, safe god in that hunter position. Even if you get poked out, you'll be back in the laning phase, complementing that safe god with an Athena support. Could be a jungle as well, depending on the flexibility of PKO's roster. But either way, that Jingwei should have a comfortable time in the early laning phase.
Chaac is a very frustrating character for Thanatos to really deal with. Thanatos wants to find the tanky, hard-to-kill characters around that 40% mark and then use the execute to kill him. Well, Chaac, one of the problems with these self-healing characters is that he's going to hit 40 and then go above it and then dip below it and then go above it. So a lot of times you're going to bait the Thanatos ult out, heal up, and then he's not going to have anybody to execute. So I like the selection there.
Nike being banned in the second ban phase. Normally this is either first pick, first ban worthy just because of the passive alone.
Sure.
250 minions go down first phase, you get 10 kills on the board second phase, 2 level 20s. You're going to get a lot of movement speed, a lot of power for your team, but overall though the bans are coming out now. We see the Odin and the Ratatasker for Backstab. Perfect job for making sure that the Guan Yu doesn't get countered.
So my 2 cents on the fact that Nike gets through to the second round was I think that PKO valued that Chaac very highly because of the Thanatos execute, and then Backstab wanted to meet healing with the Guan Yu. You think that was a thought process?
This definitely was a thought process that Backstab wants to make sure that they have the team healing, which is why they complement the Guan Yu with the Terra, additional healing with that Monolith, as well as that global presence, giving more movement speed, cooldown reduction. It's a very strong global presence, and also going to be battling against the Athena and the Thor global presence.
So we're going to see the Chang'e one more time, which will bring that team healing alongside of the Guan Yu and the Terra across the way. And Chang'e mid is so a lot of times we keep discussing about how PC and console are very similar these days. Once upon a time, you saw different metas, different picks. These days, very similar. But one of the things that does stick out is the Chang'e mid selection only finds a home on the console.
It's not just the healing though for PKO, it's also the anti-healing that Chang'e can provide with her healing herself. As long as she's close enough to also use it offensively, then the Guan Yu and the Terra will have significantly less healing done for the rest of the teammates.
So we'll see how the actual anti-healing works out in practice as we get onto the battlefield. Introducing our teams, this is finals. It will be a best of 3. PKO starts off on the order side. Hysteria Echo will be piloting the Chaac at the solo lane. Maloys is your jungle Thor. You might be familiar with him. Arabiax. Arabiax will be your Chang'e mid lane. I'm sorry about that. Kabi, as we all know and love, will be on the Athena. And then Mango Man on the Jingwei.
Sorry to distract you there, but that Thor, he has some moves, man. I feel like I'm inviting him to a couple of parties of my own.
It's a little quiet right now, despite the fact that Maloys wants to make some noise, and we'll get the volume rocking in a moment. Sting Instinct in the solo lane on the Guan. Yanoom on the jungle Thanatos. DJ Humphrey, Terra Fabulous, and Lizer will round out the roster for Backstab version 2. And as I was saying, Backstab are a little bit more, we are lesser known about these players than across the way on PKO. We've seen Kabi play before in the Guardian role, etc. So how are you feeling about this new squad of PKO?
I think that they still have a lot to prove for themselves currently. You know, it's a new season, new year. They have 5 weeks to prove themselves through the relegations to see how they really stack up against the SCL team. So right now, this is a very important start for both of these teams to be able to make a statement in week number 1 of these relegations.
Yeah, I'm almost more excited about the new guys, Backstab. Seeing new players come into the situation and really make their mark is very exciting. I'm really hoping this isn't a 2-0 stomp of established players versus new blood. I really want to see the new characters come out and sort of flex different things. They brought the Terra, they brought the Guan Yu, so they have a strategy. Will the Chang'e be enough to topple it?
I think that as long as they get the Jingwei in a very comfortable position here, especially against a Kronos who's not the best in the early laning phase from levels 1 through 7 specifically, especially with Athena supporting that Jingwei, that they should be able to kind of control that dual laning phase and play off of that, transition that into some Gold Furies, and then look for more opportunities from there. And that's very scary for a relatively unknown team to be able to make plays like that. And we'll see how they kind of translate that, because PKO, like you mentioned before, they're more established, they're more known, so there's more homework that Backstab could potentially pull away from them.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Because of the unknowns on the other side of the coin, you can't actually research these guys. You can look at their masteries, I guess, online and say he plays a lot of X-God in a single solo queue, but solo queue is very different from an actual team environment.
Especially if you just watch their rank games, it's like rank mentality versus scrim mentality is totally different. How you get along with 4 other random ranked members versus how you get along with your 4 teammates, the strategies are just totally different. You're not necessarily always going to be making the highlight plays in the scrim environment, in the match environment. You're always playing with the team, looking for the objectives whenever you can find them off the kills instead of chasing another kill past a tier 2 tower, for example. As some players like to do.
Going back to your old Dignitas days there, totally.
You know, maybe.
Either way, though, the SCL certainly coming down to it. As we said, finals will be a best of 3, and here on the European side, we're going to have 5 weeks of relegation open bracket. So these teams, even if they don't perform this week, they'll be able to come back, and I think that's very positive for a team like Backstab version 2, who they made it all the way through to the finals. Clearly, they've got something going for them, right? And here, even if they falter to PKO in the finals right now, they'll be able to, 1, go back and look at their VODs and see what's going on, not just once, but twice, 3 times, 4 times. And I think that's very important for a young scene like the European Console League.
And on top of that, that's going to at least guarantee themselves 60 points heading into week number 2, which puts them in a good spot. They only need to get a certain amount of points to qualify. As long as they can consistently get 2nd place, then obviously they will automatically qualify through these open brackets and get a chance for an opportunity to qualify to that SCL. And like you mentioned before, a lot of homework for them to be able to do off of this week and the future 4 weeks for not just themselves in this finals game, but they can also look back at the previous matches against Backstab version 2.
Getting back into the game in just a couple of moments here, folks, fixing out some of those sound issues for you. And when you're playing Chalk, sound is certainly a very big deal about what that guy wants to bring. The Chang'e mid lane, again, is a very odd pick. That let's get into game as we discuss the Chang'e. Very odd pick that we don't see a lot of, specifically in the mid lane. Now, you mentioned the fact that she brings the anti-heal, which is going to be very important. But Arabiax on this Chang'e mid, what is he looking for? Why does Chang'e work here in the mid, but we still don't see her often?
It's more important, the global pressure, to complement with Arabiax on the Chang'e, because you have to have protection in the early laning phase. Chang'e can be very vulnerable, obviously, utilizing her first ability. Puts her relatively close to the minion wave if she wants to hit both the melee minions and the archers. So you have to have that long-range support between the Thor wall or even just the Athena ultimate to mitigate some of that damage.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at how that works out. So whenever I see a janky pick like this, I always want to keep my eye on it to see if it actually works. Even if it fails, if the idea was there, or if it was just somebody like Paul that just wants to play Hebo in the long lane.
Looking at the relic situation, though, between these 2 soul laners, I like the idea that Instinct has brought out to the table, going for that early meditation with the Bluestone Pen, and now having 4 health pots, 4 multi-pots. He really wants to stay in the laning phase as long as possible without having to even go back for teleport.
So early on in the conversation, you brought up this duo lane, or, well, the Hunter lane, as we'll call it these days. Looking towards the Jingwei and the Kronos. Jingwei had to take the safe way all the way around the tower as Chronos had some help in the jungle. Will that really impact the lane in the long term, or is it just for right now?
It's just for that one individual wave. We saw Athena make the early rotation to the mid lane, which is why the Terra was still sitting in the duo lane, trying to help out Lizer, making sure that Mango Man would struggle a little bit. And even though he will still be able to clear that wave, he's going to take a little bit of poke in the process.
So right now, very early on in this game, not a lot of aggression, despite the fact that Yanoom is on that Thanatos. A lot of times when we see a Thanatos, you're almost guaranteed an invade. And if you don't see an invade, you at least see an early attempt at killing somebody. But right now, Thanatos just seems to be going through the motions, sitting over there in the mid lane.
Instinct, though, taking a lot of poke from Echo. This is what Chalk players really like to do. This is why you have to be so mindful about your positioning against the Chalk. He'll drop the axe to hit you and the melee minions, which is what we saw there. And Instinct at this current level 3 is not able to really clear the wave quick enough to be able to avoid the second axe.
And the big axe damage is what you see right away, but what a lot of players get in trouble with is the basic attack damage after the rain dance. It's a heal, sure, but it's a slow. And with that short range dash that Guan Yu has, you're going to slow him down, you're going to be able to use those basics over and over again, and you'll realize quickly that Chalk does a lot of damage with them.
Absolutely, but Echo is taking a lot of poke. Instinct is going to go in the cavalry charge. This could be first blood. He finds the third hit. The second tower shot not going to connect, even using that meditation to stay afloat in case that rotation happened.
Two big misplays coming out there from the Chalk player. One, he missed the axe on the player. He tried to hit the minions and he got it, but he didn't hit the Guan Yu. And then of course, not having the torrent available to teleport back away from the Guan Yu, that was a big deal.
I love the confidence from Instinct to be able to pick up this meditation and stay in the laning phase with it, because now if he hits level 12 and he's in a comfortable lead, he doesn't necessarily even have to go for that teleport. He can still go for more of a team fighting relic. He can either go for the curse to be able to mitigate some of the healing that Eerie V-Axe is going to provide and Echo, or he can also go for the sprint to make sure that the rest of his team is going to be able to go deep in that backline.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see players come to lane without any relic at all, thinking that they'll pick up the meditation later on if they can actually survive the first couple of waves, and then if they do die early, they'll go pick up the teleport. This was just pure confidence. Just like this invade, that's the Thanatos getting ready. As soon as he hits level 5, you'll see the Thanatos comes through and helps take care of his own buff because of the threat of the PKO invade.
Have to be careful because the Thor can always be using that ultimate from a distance. It covers it a lot faster than the Thanatos because the Thor goes up in the sky and he can pinpoint where he wants to land at a split second, whereas Thanatos stays and hovers in the air while moving. And when he decides to descend, it's relatively close from the point of the air to the landing point.
Mid Harpies looks like it went 1 for 1 so far. Teams separated by literally 6 gold wave to wave. That one is probably one of the closer situations, not like that Thorol, pretty far away. Might be seeing first blood. Up, down, coming out of Yanoom. There's damage onto the jungler. Fabulous is going to go down, and Arabix gets credit for the kill. The mid Chang'e starts things off.
Great job, but the rotation is now coming on board for Instinct. He's not in range to afford the stun. He's making his presence known, though. Chalk is now making the rotation. Doesn't really want to dive that tier 1 tower, but now with Kabi, barely avoiding that root. If that root connected, that might have been a dead Kabi.
Look at that situation right there. Heal out of the Guan Yu plus the meditation. Heals backstabbed up to 100%, but very quickly, damage from the mid lane deals down Yanoom to about 45% HP.
Overall, though, now PKO, they feel like they're confident enough to continue the jungle side pressure in the solo lane. They were maybe considering peeking their head around the corner of the speed buff, but instead electing to play it really safe, still just going for those Fire Giant Elementals, heading into the 5-minute mark. It is a 1 for 1. Only about, there is like no lead for either team.
Every single time this taunt is up, Athena's going for it. Love that decision, especially when you have a Chang'e. Chang'e is not a character that you get one taunt and I'm going to crack it. Chang'e is looking to use the poke here and there and just be able to dance through the situation. So every time you see that taunt available, you're going to get the taunt into some damage from Chang'e. You do that every time it comes off cooldown, Toli. All of a sudden, you're talking about some serious damage.
Already, Mango Man forcing the ultimate from Lizer just to stay in the laning phase. That could invite a gank opportunity here from Maloys if he really wants to, especially with Kabi maybe using the Athena ultimate on top of Mango Man.
A couple of basics, gonna miss. Some will hit, about 50% right now, but Can't rewind that damage. That's going to be permanent right now for Lizer underneath the tower.
Just slow and steady is the poke coming from Mango Man. He wants to be able to poke out this Chronos and take advantage of the fact that the ultimate is on cooldown. Nice attempt here coming out of Backstab V2, utilizing that Thanatos ultimate with the dash from Humphrey, but Malloy's barely off the mark.
Oh, the bees are going to be used, and it's not good enough. Kobe with the Goomba Stomp comes down for the 3rd kill of the game, the 2nd for PKO.
Teams are a little bit separated though in the backline. We see both the Chang'e and the Athena zoning out a few members, as it was just a Terra alone, and now a solo kill as Chalk was able to take out Guan Yu.
Thanatos finished things off in the jungle, and here it is on the left-hand side. Yunum trying to get the damage, misses the scythe. And as I always say when it comes to Thanatos, you miss your one, you better run.
You have
and
to hit
Yunum
it.
is going home.
You have to hit the scythe, and more importantly, to get the health back. And look at this. Look at the build coming out of Yenem. He has the Shield of Regrowth. If you don't hit that Death Scythe, you're not going to get the sustain. You're not going to get that passive off of that Shield of Regrowth.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, I mean, so I like to just put it in that cute little phrase, miss your one, you better run. But Thanatos is so front-loaded on that single ability. Silence is great. Sense of Death really works wonders, but it's going to do 10% of your opposition's HP plus 60% scaling that nobody cares about. It's going to also hit for a ton of damage in and of itself. It's going to heal you. It's going to slow them down. You're going to speed up. It's got so much text on it. It's like Ra's old heal. There's just so much on that tooltip. And Yunum right now going to take to the sky with the Nox. Love this play. It's a 2-person, well, retreat. Finally makes the decision. Gets taunted into the damage from 2 players. Wall through the wall. Gotta love that one. Here comes Instinct all the way from the right-hand side. Dancing away from the stun is the mid lane Chang'e. And that's going to be a good look as nobody takes too much damage.
Humphrey barely getting away from that one. The sustain is coming from Instinct and Fabulous. And now out of position, though, being regrouped with Echo and the Chang'e. The stun was good. Humphrey utilizing that silence. Needs to dash away, but didn't have the mana.
Malloy gets credit for the kill. It's 4-2 so far. PKO in the lead right now, continuing against Backstab version 2. Sting Instinct is going to be down to about 25%. Lizer gets the kill on the mid lane. Chalk is going on to join the party, tossing out the axes. Here comes the trip towards the right-hand side, Jolie, and Venoom gets the kill. Silence going to follow up, and dashing it is Fabulous.
He wants to be able to root everybody in place, but he's going to fall in the process. Kabi, though, is going to take a trade as well as the Chalk. Overall, it's a 4-for-2 trade as Humphrey does revive. It's up to Mango Man to be able to survive under his tier 1 tower. He's
Not
trying
gonna
to get down there, but the Lizer, the Cronus, is just too fast, especially with Accelerate.
Oh, Lizer gets 3 kills in that engagement. That'll put 4 in his kill column in total. Everybody alive on the side of Backstab version 2. PKO, after some revives, are going to have 3 players on the board. Not enough room for PKO, or anybody really, not enough room for Backstab to really go for that Gold Fury because of how early in the game it is.
The coordination, though, from PKO was just not on point to take advantage of the aggressive attempt from Backstab V2 between Yenem and Humphrey joining in side by side with that Thanatos ultimate.
Look at that damage out of the Thor!
Too much damage. It's only level 9 Thor as well, so the later this goes, see, this is a maxed out hammer. You get the stun, you hammer. It has its uses for sure, as long as you're comfortable in landing it, but now Malloy isn't done. He wants to land onto Humphrey.
And he's gonna land, and he's gonna get the kill. There it is for PKO, 1 step closer to evening this kill gap. Thanatos comes down and says, absolutely not. Lead by 2. Backstab version 2. Damage coming out, gonna stretch it out to 3. Yunum gets credit. 4-0-3 for your jungle Thanatos.
Kabi just constantly got disrupted from that Athena dash. The silence, 2 stuns as well. Nowhere for him to really be able to get out of that one. So overall, that was a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of Backstab V2. Despite losing their mid-mage, they got the Chang'e in the process as well as Kabi.
So Malloy's here on this Thor. I really want to point out the fact that he's maxing that hammer above the Zerka's Barrage. Backstab is going to start with the Gold Fury. Both players on PKO understand that. You'll see the wraparound for both the Jingwei and the Thor. Well, important point, though, Thor Ultimate is down. Won't have that available. Can't really join the party. Gold Fury goes down, and it's going to be all about Backstab.
Kabi has to get away, barely avoiding that Death Sight. So important, as well as the top-hand side Terra. Fabulous going to get away from that one. Instinct was thinking about chasing, but it's Mango Man going to get chased down by Lizer instead.
And there's a rewind on Lizer just to reset everything. Echo's going to get stunned. He's going to get hit from behind. He's going to get hit from up front. And he's going to get hit with the basic. Pretty advanced play from Lizer as he expands it to a double kill, and Yanu from the sky cleans things up. 4 players down for the count. The only one alive is a Thor, and he's far away from this conflict.
Great play from Backstab V2. They got the goal here at the 10-minute mark. They found 4 kills of themselves. The hammer is down. Humphrey was the target, but now it's going to be a deicide. Everybody from Backstab V2 is up. They can utilize this Terra sustain, the Guan Yu sustain, and continue putting pressure under this tier 1 mid tower. Great performance.
What's he doing? Even Mango Man, what are you doing? There's the active use. He's going to walk right back into the clutches of the opposition.
One more hit is all that's required from Lizer. Actually make that 2. Barely able to survive that one. The body blocks from the minion wave.
Yeah.
But they got what they came for. They wanted the tier 1 tower. After that deicide, they found it. They're extending their goal lead slightly to now about 2,700 gold. More importantly, this experience lead currently is the big factor because this is a little bit of a snowball-y composition here for Backstab V2, especially with Thanatos on Yenim.
You know what's very interesting to me, Toli, is that PKO right now, if you didn't tell me the names of the players, I would guess that PKO were the newcomers and Backstab were the established players because of the way that you saw me and Kevin always say, the ants go marching one by one. Hurrah, hurrah. And right there, I mean, Malloy's just, I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he didn't expect Backstab to be so aggressive, so I give him half a pass. But watching Mango Man walk up onto a tier 1 tower while 5 players are there, that's not Mango Man. We've seen you for a year in the SCL.
It's a calculated diversion tactic. You know, he had the Sanctuary up, he had the Athena and the Changa right by his side. He knew that the taunt was coming any second. He calculated the minions escaping that tier 2 tower just to body block, and he knew that by the time those minions body blocked him, he would regenerate enough health to absorb that 1 Chronos in hand and survive until the second one missed.
My dog ate my homework too. Yunum takes to the sky more defensively than offensively. Love that. Down comes Thanatos, up goes Thor, right on top of the Thanatos. Here's help from the Chalk, big ol' silence and a knockup, but just not enough damage, which is pretty much the entirety of Chalk's life.
Just trying to poke them out in the process so that as the rest of the team from PKO is going to regroup. Echo is going to clear the tier 1 wave here, but he doesn't have his escape now, and Yenim and Instinct could potentially look to chase that down, but instead going to go into the mid lane, making sure that they don't lose the tier 1 mid tower of their own. And now it's going to be Malloy's caught in the root, in the silence, hammering on the left-hand side. He does have the speed buff, but it's an accelerated Chronos trying to chase it down. The wall, though, is going to prevent the chase.
Really big play from Thor right there. A lot of times when you sort of get stuck, and I know he was silenced, but you can still basic attack. A lot of times when you get stuck in a situation like that, you instinctively go for the attack. Had he attacked that Nox, he dies to the tower. Easy peasy. Malloy's has the presence of mind to not get in trouble by forming the attack. Great play right here. This team fight, however, a little bit disjointed. Teams all over the place.
The Nox ultimate finding Arabiax from a distance. So far, Yenim using that Sanctuary, surviving the Torrent Axe combination. Gets the heal. He's in the sky. He wants to find and execute. Echo is not going to get executed, but he will fall. That's 2 members dead on the side of PKO.
So earlier on in the game, about 8 minutes in, we lamented the fact that Yunu missed the Death Scythe, and we were talking about how impactful that ability is. That is a dead Thanatos unless he does what he does right there. Turns around, gets the 180 Scythe, stays alive for the moment, has enough HP to take to the sky. His team finishes the rest, just like they will finish this tier 2 tower. 20 minutes in, 16-6. Read the kills, and Backstabbed, the newcomers, are up 5,000 gold.
Very comfortable lead, and on top of this lead, they also have the sustain to boot. So now all they really have to do is just continue to group up as 5 members. Gold Fury is about to respawn in 30 seconds. This should be their next objective. Looking at the left-hand side of the map, they already got the tier 1 and tier 2 in mid. There's no real need to focus on the solo lane because the Fire Giant is too difficult to take down. They don't really have to worry about PKO sneaking away that one, especially considering the fact that they don't have any Wraths.
Thanatos going a very aggressive build here. Normally you see Thanatoses go into the more defensive style after the first or second item. You generally see, well, any boots that Thanatos feels fit. One aggressive item for cooldown, and then the rest tends to be defensive. But with the lead that he's given, you mentioned Snowball before, Regrowth will be the only defensive item that we see right now. He's got Hydras, and then building into another offensive item of Jotun's Wrath.
As long as he's very patient with his engagements, he doesn't really need to build defensively. honestly, at this point, because there's a lot of area of effect and distance control from backstab V2 between the Nox using that silence root combination. Kronos can throw out the time stop from a distance. Obviously, Fabulous can also get off any roots, any stuns that he wants to. So all Yenim has to do is just wait patiently, throw out the Death Sights at any stunned or rooted target, and wait for somebody to get low enough to get executed.
Very true. Definitely want to keep our eyes on the offensive Thanatos. Sense of Death activated, looking for the hit, finds it. Malloy's down to below half HP. He's executable up in the sky, but he's not going to get the kill. Beautiful dash away by Malloy's. Find himself out of harm's way, and a perfect wall, except 2 players on the wrong side. Not so perfect as Yanum claims 2. Hera BX falls down after the jungle Thor. And still keeping on. There's 3 for the Thanatos. Trips 4, giving him money. Looking for number 5. Mango Man takes to the sky. We'll see a bit of a reprieve and objective-minded. Love to see the Thanatos stick onto that tower. Not gonna chase the pentakill here. That be that. And the Phoenix goes down.
A great play from the Thanatos, finding 4 kills and still having the objective mindset to not chase down that pentakill. They found the better objective, which was that middle Phoenix. There's a short time frame to be able to take advantage of that one. They're not playing around. They want this 100 points.
So right before that engagement, I said, well, you don't usually see these offensive Thanatosos. Do you think it's going to be worth it, Toli? And then homie gets a quadra kill. I get it. You want it, and it works out. So absolutely can't bash the man for that. Fantastic cleanup right there from the Thanatos. We're going to get back in the game in just a moment. We have a little bit of a player pause going on. So that Phoenix goes down. What's the next step for Backstabbed?
Well, Gold Fury's still up, Fire Giant is still up, depending on the respawn timers for the team. It's still relatively low, not too many high-level members on the side of PKO to get back.
Sure.
So I don't expect too much time to be able to down that Fire Giant objective. I would have liked to see here Backstab to be able to just get the Gold Fury and then look to buy and reset, start Sentry Warding around the Fire Giant, and then apply more pressure, because when they roam together, they're always finding picks anyway. So if they find 2 more picks after they started the Sentry Warding Fire Giant, that's their opportunity to really close out the game.
Totally says Gold Fury. Let's see if that's the case. We'll get back into the game right away. Best of 3 right here. This is the first game, 16.5 in. And Backstabbed leading by a slew of gold. 5K to be a little bit more precise. We're joining in right after we saw Yanum pick up a quadra kill, and then the mid lane Phoenix. Teams are shifting to the left side, specifically the red team. So it seems you were right. Look for the Gold Fury, then look for the Vision.
The net worth, though, looking at these teams, such a big disparity between these 2 junglers. Now, 2,000 gold lead for the Thanatos. Now, granted, Thor can still play from behind and set up his teammates, but you're trying to set up a Chang'e who's also behind, and this is not going to be looking very pretty for PKO as the lead extends even further.
Yeah, I mean, Chang'e in general, I said before, is a very different type of mage than some of your more traditional mid laners. And when you go the option of the Chang'e, and I was curious about this, though I didn't mention it totally. When you go the option of the Chang'e, which, let it be known, I don't dislike in and of itself, you always have to think about the composition as a whole. Chang'e brings a lot that other mages don't, but she lacks the burst damage. And when you have that situation, you want to find burst somewhere else. I don't see it on PKO.
Well, Malloy's did have a lot of burst damage in the beginning of the game when he was level 9. We saw how much damage he did onto Humphrey when he was able to find the stun, find the double tap hammer, just absolutely chunking that mid Nox. But at this point, he's just getting further and further behind. He's still going really offensive now with the Hydroslam Man, the Brawler Speed Stick, trying to limit some of the sustain between Instinct and Fabulous. But without some of the defenses, it's going to be very risky for him to stay in the team fight and deciding whether or not he wants to teleport to that hammer.
Yeah, you know, when you see a pick like Chang'e, you almost want to see like maybe a mage jungle or a Nadja type character that really makes up for the lack of burst. When you swap in odd picks, you want to be able to balance the equation, as I always say, and you're just losing burst damage here that I think is a part of why PKO hasn't been able to keep up with Backstabbed. You're seeing Backstabbed set up these team fights. Nox doing a fair amount of damage. Obviously, Yanum on the Thanatos, 9, 0, and 8, completely a big part of it. Burst out of those 2 characters. PKO can't stand to dance.
It's all about the team fights favoring Backstab, like you mentioned before. Lizer, he's 8-1 and 8, and that's off of the back of getting poked out and bullied in the early laning phase. Mango Man was doing a good job, but it's actually Lizer now getting the better end of it. 2 levels ahead. Both hunters with the red buff currently, but having more survivability with this wing blade allows him to chase down the Xingwei.
Echo's getting chased down right now. Ultimate will be forced out by the Chalk, covering the option as Yunum. Not going to be deked out by the dash from the Chalk player. Hysteria Echo will be safe and sound as his teammates meet up with him. So not too big of a threat right there just yet, but Malloy's caught out one more time. Defensive ultimate sends him back home, and Backstab will group up 3 players deep in the mid lane, and now descending on the opposition. Long range sight, not going to find a home. That double tap, not as strong as it was before.
No, not at all. It's unfortunately a level 14 Thor compared to the level 17 onto Yenum. 9-0-8, now having a decent amount of penetration with that Yonan's Wrath. Going for more of a magical defense style. This could be potentially the bulwark of hope, so that way when he does go in, he's going to have that magical bubble to keep him alive for a little bit longer, buying time for Instinct and Fabulous to get the sustain off.
I don't want to see the defense here.
Tier 1 is not worth it at this point.
And PKO make the correct decision. They're going to fall back. Now, we agree that Tier 1's not worth it. How you feeling about this Tier 2?
With the exception of the middle Phoenix falling here, you have to be mindful about the fire waves, but it's going to be a defense here, attempt at least by PKO. The damage is being done, though. That tower is less than 50% health, and Echo doing whatever he can with the ultimate. That's not enough, though.
Yeah,
no one's following up.
Well, that shell came out early, Totally, and the silence came out right after the shell. I think that was less of an initiation and more of a shell is there. Let's silence them so they can't deal damage. We'll follow up after the fact as Yunum gets chased to the sky. Big damage coming out of the Xingwei. Meanwhile, mid lane.
It's just a stall tactic currently by Backstab V2. They recognize that somebody has to deal with the fire minion waves down the mid lane. I believe that's still one more additional fire wave, and it looks like it is indeed. Yeah. So the Thor's going to have to sit there, and this is going to be a 5-on-4 on the left-hand side.
And that's totally fine. Malloy's is minimal impact right now, if anything, outside of the ultimate. That's what you're going to see. Chang'e fires off an ult of her own. Big damage, and Lizer gets the rebound off. He's going to be fine. Different story for Chang'e, getting dove under the tower by Assassins and Warriors. Yunum gets 1. Looking for the follow-up. Yunum gets 2. Still on the multi-kill streak is the jungle Thanatos. Looking for more. Mango Man's the target. Silence is good from behind, but Yunum still's got the basic. Taken to the sky. Still alive. Gets the execute. There's the reset. Thanatos on a tear. Lizer helping out.
He finds 3 kills. His teammate finds the 4th. He sacrifices his life in the process, but it doesn't matter. They got what they wanted. They got the tier 2 tower. They're going to be grouped up to get this left side. Phoenix Echo is not really in range to stop this one. He's going to try to maybe take out Instinct in the process, but it's too little too late, and now he could be in trouble himself.
He'll generally be fine because I don't think Backstab are interested. They want to shift right over and take this mid-health, this half-health mid-Phoenix down for the count. Purification chased out by the Nox. Don't know if she really needed to, but better safe than sorry. And this mid-Phoenix will be defended by PKO.
It was a great rotation from Kabi. Very fortunate timing to be able to get in position to find the taunt, deter Lizer from finding those important in-hands on that mid-weekend Phoenix.
That was, and you know, Lizer right there, I don't think he realizes his power at the moment. Lizer could have tanked that Phoenix. If he uses the passive on the 4th quadrant and he's able to just accelerate correctly, he takes that Phoenix, kills it in 5 shots. He did not realize how much power he had at his disposal. So because of that Backstab, they get the win, but not win as hard as they might have been able to possibly before.
Absolutely. I would consider it a more calculated safety net for Backstab V2. They already got the left side Phoenix, and they could realistically go for that middle Phoenix anytime they want, though.
I agree, but there comes a point, Tolly. How safe is too safe?
I don't think that was a too safe of an option because there's no dire need for them to end the game right at this moment. This is still not a point where they have 6 items, and they still have about a 1 to 1.5 item lead over PKO with about a 9 to 10,000 gold lead. Fire Giant hasn't been attempted, but Malloy's got ganked from behind.
There's going to be the taunt by the Athena. Malloy's going to be chased to the sky. That should be good. Yeah, he saw an opportunity.
Thanatos, though, he wants to chase. Look how fast Yenum is walking through the sky, though. He wants to chase this down.
Oh, still misses the scythe. That's what we call feeling yourself right there. Yunum certainly has a reason to, as he's 12-1-9.
The combination of the Terror Ultimate with the Thanatos having the speed buff was the reason we saw him just fly so quickly through the air, almost able to actually catch up to Malloy's. Now, it's a bit of a guessing game for Yenem as he's in the sky, because you never really know where the Thor is going to land. You can see what general direction he's facing as he's landing, but you never know if it's going to be a long one or a short one.
So you've got the Terror Ultimate, you've got Scent of Death, which speeds you up, but it speeds you up additionally faster when somebody's in that execute threshold. You get movement speed from the execute in and of itself, and then of course you're going to be boosted by Shield of Regrowth because he hit the that's race car Thanatos right there. Oh, too fast.
Though, going in the way of backstab V2. No one from PKO in position, and a nice Chonga stun, at least to deter Yenem for a little moment. Cavalry charge going to stun out. Thanatos following up. The Chonga going to survive for a little bit longer. The sustain is going to keep everybody up.
DJ Humphrey starts this party off right with his second kill of the contest. He's going to get the kill right there on the right-hand side, and down goes the tower. That Thanatos death, Thanatos, excuse me, his silence is so important against this Chang'e. She wants to be consistently casting in these team fights, and she's just not allowed.
Especially with a little bit of cooldown reduction, but now Echo getting out of position. Great stun from the Thor, and the damage is being deterred here. Mango Man trying to dive this down, wants to kill Fabulous, but great jukes coming out from Fabulous, able to buy a lot of time with the rewind from Lizer, gonna top him off. He's gonna be able to dive some more kills, finding out Echo, trying to chase out Chang'e in the process, but now Mango Man might have bit off more than he can chew.
Loso still alive in the jungle on the left side. Mango Man goes far too deep, and Yanoom gets lucky number 13 in his kill column. And this guy looking for it. There's a sprint, finds Kabi. Stun out of the Chronos, not gonna find a home, but Thanatos finds a home for his death scythe as Era BX finds a home in the graveyard. Down goes the right side Phoenix as well. Damage brought to you by Lizer. 2 Phoenixes down, mid Phoenix is weakened, but ain't nobody care. They're going right for the Titan.
Backstab V2 is going to be able to take out this first game in the best of 3 set, putting themselves in a good, comfortable position heading into game 2 against PKO.